Part 2. What are the chances of playing like your guitar heroes? Although you may learn to play several things from various guitar players you look up to, expecting to be just as good as several top players is unrealistic. Comparing yourself today to how you were yesterday is a far better approach to improving how you play. If you're not obsessed with playing every day, then chances are you won't be as good as your guitar heroes. But what if you do play all the time? Is that enough? No. No, it is not. I've had various people and my own students tell me over the years how they want to be as good as several guitar greats. The problem with this is that those guitar greats are not even as good as all those other guitar greats. Steve Vai is as good as Steve Vai. Joe Satriani is as good as Joe Satriani. Yngwie Malmsteen, Buckethead, Eric Johnson, etc. You name a guitar player known for virtuosity, and all of them would have some level of difficulty playing everyone else's stuff. Maybe not a lot, but these guitar idols worked their asses off developing their own styles. Sure, you can have an extremely rare exception like a child prodigy coming along who can replicate damn near everything. Most likely, you are not a child prodigy. I'm pretty sure child prodigies are too busy actually playing and replicating others instead of watching videos like this. Of course, you can learn to play many things by many players. But to think you can be just as good as all of these players is unrealistic. And to think you can be just as fast as the fastest players who ever existed is even more unrealistic. After all, these are the top of the top. Only a very small fraction of the guitar playing population can be the fastest. Even if you play obsessively, if you don't have the genetics to allow you to excel at guitar playing, then you won't. Just look at how many people try making it in professional sports. It's damn near impossible. I've heard stories of how Michael Jordan did not make his high school basketball team, so he worked tirelessly to better himself. Obviously, it worked. But do you really think it was just hard work that made him the man he became? Don't you think there are thousands of others who may have worked just as hard, or perhaps harder? Jordan had an extraordinary work ethic, no doubt. That work ethic combined with his genetic potential is what allowed him to excel and become one of the most, or possibly the most, well-known sports figure in history. I've been a fan of bodybuilding for a while now. I had dreams, like many boys, of being big like Arnold. Turns out that's not going to happen. Just like Michael Jordan, Arnold Schwarzenegger had a work ethic and dedication to be the very best, and the genetics to allow it. Same thing for anyone on the Mr. Olympia stage. Just because someone takes a ton of steroids does not mean they will become giant. You need the genetics to allow you to get that big. I love training in the gym, and I can still better myself day after day, week after week, year after year. Just because you might not be able to play crazy difficult guitar shred pieces or pick 16th notes faster than 300 beats per minute does not mean you can't improve and still have fun with guitar. That's a big takeaway message right there. Focus on making yourself better than you were the day before. Even if you won't be in the top 10 fastest pickers out there, you can still be faster than you were last month, especially when you're first starting out. When you start out is when you have the greatest potential for growth. In the gym world, we call this newbie gains. This next piece of info I'm going to share is quite possibly going to upset some of you. This would be taking my years of working with various students and going off of how they have progressed. Most of you will be average, no matter how hard you try. What is average? You can expect to be picking 16th notes between 160 and 180 beats per minute, and that's just picking simple stuff. Intricate note choices are most likely not going to happen for most players at those speeds. I am sorry. I hate saying stuff like this because I used to preach and believe that if you work hard enough at this guitar game, you too can be insanely fast and play any difficult thing you want. But that's just not the case. If you can play power chord progressions reasonably well within the first few months of picking up the guitar, and can accurately alternate pick eighth notes close to 200 beats per minute, I'd say you have a pretty good shot of at least hitting the average mark for shred guitar speeds. If it takes you close to 6 months or longer to play power chord progressions where every note rings out clear, no buzzing, no bending strings out of tune, and moving chords at the correct time, you're probably not going to reach average. I just don't see it happening. By 6 months of playing, power chord progression should not be an issue if you're going to reach the average fast playing speeds. If you struggle to play a scale with alternate picking, up and down all 6 strings with eighth notes at only 120 beats per minute, I find it highly unlikely you will ever reach the average fast picking speeds. After a few months of working on something like this, alternate picked eighth notes at 120 beats per minute should not be a struggle if you have what it takes to reach shred level speeds. I've had some students who, even after trying several different approaches, could not gain control over their alternate picking even after nearly 9 months of lessons. And that's on top of the multiple years of playing on their own and taking lessons with other people. Some of you will be on the spectrum of having a next to impossible time getting to average shred guitar speeds. And some of you just won't make it no matter how hard you try. It sucks to hear, and I hate saying it, but it is true. Remember the takeaway message mentioned just moments ago. You can still become a better guitar player today than you were yesterday. On the other side of the spectrum are the few who pick things up fairly quick. Speaking from my own experience, I remember getting the opening riff to the Rush song, Spirit of Radio, up to speed and faster than my dad could play just a few weeks after he showed it to me. This man had been playing for well over 20 years at this point. I hadn't been playing for even one. Within 1 year of playing guitar, people at my high school said it sounded like I had already been playing for 10 years. If people are saying things like this to you, and you haven't even been playing more than a few years, there is a very good chance you've got what it takes to play technically advanced material and play faster than most people ever could. Very few of my students have surpassed picking 16th notes at 200 beats per minute or more, but it has happened. Recently, a couple guys hit sextuplets at 150 beats per minute, and that's with picking a new note every pick stroke. That's the equivalent of eighth note triplets at 300 beats per minute. One student I'm currently working with as I make this video was hitting eighth note power chord progressions at 240 beats per minute, despite her saying how much she struggles. I told her several times that most people can barely even hit 160 beats per minute at her stage in the game. There's a very good chance she'll be one of the most advanced guitar players I get the privilege of working with.